Hi, everyone. We're back with Jim DeLisi, who is president at Fanwood Chemical in New Jersey, and he's an expert on international trade and tracks a lot of the data imports into the U.S. of formulated products, active ingredients. So today we wanted to talk about some of the information from Jim's June newsletter, which he discussed one of a big piece of legislation that the Senate just passed that has impact on our industry. So the legislation is called the Innovation and Competition Act. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer in New York, in an article in USA Today, called the bill one of the most significant pieces of legislation passed in a long time, and said it would have a huge impact on the American economy and jobs. And he said, it's the largest investment in scientific research and technological innovation in generations. It sets the US on a path to lead the world in the industries of the future. So a lot of this is aimed at competing with China. And I'm wondering, Jim, if you can just talk about some of the pieces of the legislation that impact our industry, like some of the major points that we need to be aware of and kind of what comes next with this.
Sure. Nice to be with you again, Jackie. That piece of legislation is an attempt to invest in technologies to offset the impact of China on the U.S. Manufacturing sector. There's a lot of money for chips and things like that and research into how to make them. But the key parts of this that will directly impact our industry, there was 2 or 3 things added to the legislation in the Senate that are real important. One was the so-called miscellaneous tariff bill. This provides for reductions in duties in dozens and dozens and dozens of agrochemicals and active ingredients and formulated products. The chemical industry itself is the largest user of this program, and the ag chemical industry is the largest subset of the chemical industry. So there is literally millions of dollars in savings, and this will replace most of the duty suspensions / reductions that expired on 12/31/2020. Interestingly, the Senate bill has 120 days of retroactivity. So 120 days from passage, if the Senate language is agreed, you will be able to go back that far and get back to regular duties. Has no impact on China surtaxes. The other piece that's attached to it that's real important is the renewal of the GSP program, the so-called Generalized System of Preferences. As you may recall, India was knocked out of it about 1.5 years ago. There is no provisions to allow India back as part of this legislation, but India is still eligible for GSP, so they would certainly be eligible to request membership. There are some changes in GSP that I don't think will impact India in a very big way, primarily reflecting worker rights and the environment. And I suspect there's going to be some global warming concerns addressed by the revised GSP legislation. It is also retroactive to the 1st of January, so that anything that lapsed that was currently under GSP would be back under GSP. Now, interestingly, the Senate violated the Constitution of the United States when they did this.
How so?
And the House has pointed it out because the Constitution says that all, in quote, revenue bills must first start in the House. And so the House was not real happy that the Senate included these provisions. And they said, well, we're going to do it ourselves first, and then we will negotiate with you. But since that legislation was passed by overwhelming majorities in the Senate, the House has posted similar legislation with the same 120 days of retroactivity on MTB, and perhaps slightly tougher language on some of the new issues for GSP. But it's great to see that both houses are basically in conformance on these issues.
What is MTB?
The miscellaneous tariff bill, the duty reduction suspensions.
Okay.
The other thing that's in the Senate language, which I've not seen in the House language yet, because frankly that part of the bill's not done. The Senate directs the USTR's office to reopen the exceptions exceptions procedures for China tariffs, and it also allows for anything that was accepted from the China surtaxes on 12/31/2020 to regain that exception status retroactively to the 1st of January. The only AI or formulated product that was on the list as of that date was paraquat, but a fair amount of paraquat has come in from China since the 1st of January, so that those importers would be eligible to get that money back. So, but the fact that they are requesting USTR, not requesting, they're requiring USTR to reopen the exclusion process should be beneficial to the industry, especially since they're also requiring it be done in an open and transparent way. So we've got to wait for the final bills, because there's going to obviously be some compromise between the House and the Senate version. It's unlikely that anything can happen until after the 4th of July recess, so we're probably at least 3 or 4 weeks away from knowing what's going to happen here. But there's overwhelming support for this package, as shown by the Senate vote. So I suspect something will happen, and we'll know where this is by mid-July.
What about the tariffs then? You said they're going to be around for a while. No change on that.
Yes. The United States Trade Representative's Office has said they want to do a complete review of the China-U.S. trade relationship. That review is not completed and doesn't look like it's going to be completed for a while. As we've noted in previous calls, China has significant purchase requirements under the Phase 1 agreement that was signed in January of last year. Also in 2022, so if they just or 2021 rather, not 2022, if they just lift those tariffs, those purchase requirements would go away, and so that would be a mistake. And also, Catherine Tai, the new USTR under the Biden administration, has stated she is not going to give up the leverage that those tariffs have without getting something significant in return. So that if you read anything in any paper or any magazine about the U.S.-China relationship on trade, you'll see that it has not improved or changed in any way with the change of administration. So I suspect the status quo for a while. But the one thing that people have to watch out for, when the U.S. agreed to suspend the Boeing Airbus tariffs with Europe, there were no refunds. And if you happen to be an importer of cheese or other things from Europe that were on that list, you ended out with a warehouse full of very expensive material because the tariffs were dropped with no notice and no refunds. And so, again, anybody that's importing agrochemicals or formulated agrochemicals that are on the China surtax list is urged to consider bonded warehouses for storage, so that you don't end out with a warehouse full of material that are paid 25% surtax when the next container load comes in for free.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how many are taking advantage of this, the warehouse advice. I have not heard on that, but
we will all know when those tariffs are lifted by the people that are really crying about the fact they've got a warehouse full of expensive stuff.
All right, just shifting toward your data on formulated product imports. So maybe just say, your take-home messages on the data, that you've shown for the first half of 2021. What does the data tell you?
Well, in the case of formulated products, and this is January to April, because the rest of the statistics aren't available yet for the May and June from census. Mm-hmm. Basically, insecticides are flat from 2018 to 2021, down a little, maybe 5%. Fungicides, this is formulated products, are up significantly, 25-30% between 2018 and 2021. And herbicides are down significantly, approximately a third in value. And these are customs values, so they would include material that went into free trade zones, but not include the China surtaxes in the value. On the case of the annual details from 2017 to 2020, insecticides are off by about 15-20%. Fungicides are off by about 10%, 15%, and herbicides are off by about the same level, about 15%. So that there continues to be, I'm sure everybody's longing for 2017, 2018 kind of year. So far, 2020 didn't do it, and 2021 is, while it's improved over 2020 significantly, is not showing big signs of recovery yet, though there are some good indications out there. Also,
wasn't glyphosate up sharply earlier this year, and we never really understood, and now it's fungicides that are way up. Any indication of that, like why, or is it just supply chain sort of stuff that's screwy and COVID fallout? Or
I got a sneaking suspicion it's rain. That all that rain over the past few years has caused an uptick in fungicides, though this year it's pretty dry. In the case of active ingredients, there's an unbelievable rise in the imports of glyphosate. This is for 5 months, January to May. For 2021, 31,600 metric tons of glyphosate was imported. This is on a net basis, so the 62%, the 41% is taken down to the 100% basis of the active ingredient, versus 24,700 metric tons in 2020 and 26,400 metric tons in 2019. So for whatever set of reasons, glyphosate is on a tear and prices are up. So it's really kind of interesting to understand what's going on with glyphosate, and I'm not suggesting that I do understand why, but it is, there's no doubt from the statistics it's up. In the case of most of the other herbicides, like 2,4-D is basically flat, down a little from 2020, but up from 2019. Dicambas, same thing, is down just a little for 2021, but basically flat. Glufosinate is up significantly from 3,300 metric tons the first 5 months of 2020 to about 5,000 for the first 5 months of 2021, and that's about even with where it was in 2019. Mancozeb, fungicide, that's up significantly. Paraquat is down. It was about 8,700 metric tons the first 5 months of 2020, 5,250 metric tons for the same period of 2021. And the other product that's, for whatever set of reasons, on a tear is S-metolachlor. It's up almost double what it was in 2020, from about 12,000 tons in 2020 to about 21,000 tons in 2021. So several of these AIs, especially some of the big herbicides, are up substantially. And in the beginning of the year, there were some issues with the plant and luling, power outages and floods and all the rest of that stuff. So that might have been a reason for January and February, but it's certainly, I can't imagine it would continue to be the reason why these imports are up so dramatically. Though I don't know the status of luling.
Yeah, it's interesting because you probably heard about all the product shortages that people have had this year, active ingredients, formulated products. So I just
well, transportation is an unmitigated disaster. Moving containers from the Far East to the United States is very, very difficult and very, very slow. And then the ships get here and they can't get into port. So transportation, logistics, I'm glad I'm not a logistics guy right now. I would be carrying out what little hair I have left. So
you would suspect the shortages are more due to the transportation issues, logistics, than actual product availability.
They are certainly having a significant impact on it. From what we've seen in both ag chemicals and some other areas where we do some work, there are normally inventories in warehouses, but you just can't move the stuff. And even once you get it in the United States, there's an unbelievable shortage of hazmat drivers. And so there's stuff piling up in the piers in the United States waiting for a truck driver to deliver it to the end use customer. So the whole logistical trains are stuck, and that is adding an awful lot of difficulty to getting a lot of these things done.
Okay, wow. Any other notes you would like to, anything else you'd want to share with everyone?
Well, I think that hits the highlights. That hits the highlights for right now. Watch your newspapers because it will be headline news if and when that bill passes. And if anybody's got any questions about the impact it has on tariffs of individual items, you can contact me or contact Jackie. We'll get you the information. We've got some preliminary ideas already from the ITC report that was completed at the end of last year. But until the actual legislation is passed, you can't be sure. There are significant changes in what will be the new duty rates. A lot of products that were duty free under the MTB or the tariff benefits last year up to 12/31/2020 will have duties, and some of them that were only duty reductions, those reductions are increased because when they did the calculations as to the revenue loss to the United States, imports were up or volumes or values were up, causing them to have to knock down the size of the reductions. So glad to help in any way we can. But just watch the papers. When you see a big announcement that President Biden is signing that R&D Act, you know it's a done deal.
Okay. And you expect that to be within a couple of weeks or longer, maybe, or just?
I can't see how it can get done through Congress until after the recess. So I suspect you're looking at, I'm looking over the calendar. You're talking 15 July, maybe the week of 19 July when something could get done. I suspect once it's passed, it will get signed pretty quickly because of the large bipartisan majorities that are voting in favor of this, and everybody wants to tout Washington can do things in a bipartisan way. This is one thing that's being done in that manner.
All right, Jim. Well, thank you so much. You are such an expert on all of this, and I really appreciate your insight, and we'll be in touch.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. Good to be with you.